Okay, I really hope that stays because it took me forever to get that up there. Before I start, one thing I've noticed in my book talks is the lighting progressively gets better and my hair progressively gets straighter. Anyways, hello, I am back with another book talk. And today I'm doing my book talk over Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Unfortunately, I don't have the book because I illegally downloaded the entire series on my Chromebook. Anyways, this book takes place on the continent of Aurelia. I think that's how you pronounce it. Here is a map of it. But more specifically in Aurelia, this takes place in Adarlan, which is the kingdom that has basically taken over the entire continent because of the tyrannical ruler, the King of Adarlan. The author doesn't specify exactly what time period this takes place in, but I would think it would be sometime around the 10th century. That's reaching a bit, but there's no electronics. It's, everyone gets places by boat, by carriage. There's no electrics. It's candlelight, stuff like that. So there are three main characters in this book. Number one is our leading lady, Selena Sardorthian. Number two is Dorian Havillard, and number three is Kale Westfall. So first up is Selena. She is an assassin. She is commonly called Adarlan's assassin because of the work she's done in Adarlan. Without spoiling too much, basically she was found when she was 8 by Arabin Hamel, the king of the assassins, and she was taken to the Assassin's Keep where she was raised until she was 17, where then she was betrayed and she was captured and sent to Endovier, where there are the slave salt mines, where she spends a year, and she is 18 when this book begins. Selena is very sassy and witty and arrogant, and even despite spending a year in a slave camp, which is terrible, she is still spunky and hasn't lost any of her fire. Selena is very beautiful, and she uses her beauty as a weapon along with the other things she's been trained to do as an assassin. Next is Dorian Havillard, who is the crown prince of Adarlan, the son of the crazy ruler who took over the continent. He is a ladies' man, a known player in the castle, but he is very sweet at heart, and he does not like what his father is doing to Aurelia. He loves to read just like Selena, and he loves animals, and I think the book even mentioned that he likes dogs more than people, which is very relatable. Dorian is 19 years old in the Throne of Glass book. Dorian is also very handsome with his sapphire blue eyes and ebony black hair. And last but not least is his best friend, Kale Westfall, who's also the captain of the Royal Guard of Adarlan. He is around 22 when this book takes place, although she doesn't specify in the book. Kale has brown eyes, brown hair, and kind of a brooding natural expression. Kale is very loyal to Dorian, and they've been friends since childhood, and he is also a very good leader, and he cares about his men a lot. So the plot of the book is Dorian Havillard takes Selena Sardorthian out of Endovier because he knows of her as Adarlan's assassin, although nobody else does, and he wants her to be his champion in the King's Royal Competition. The competition is where Selena and 24 other males compete against each other to become the King's champion, which is just another fancy name for his assassin who does his dirty work. Selena says yes to the offer because it's either that or stay in Endovier, which is a slave camp, so yeah. So Kale, Dorian's right-hand man, and Dorian take Selena out of Endovier and take her to the Glass Castle, where she is to train and compete to become the King's champion. Over time, Selena forms a relationship with Kale, seeing as he is the overseer of everything she does at the castle because she's a notorious assassin. A friendship very, very slowly but surely starts to form between the two of them. And it starts out with a lot of him yelling at her, and they don't become friends until a lot later. A lot of the climax of the book is Selena training and getting her body back into shape after spending a year in Endovir, and forming a relationship with Kale, Dorian, and also with Knox Owen, a fellow competitor in the competition, who is a thief from Parenth, as well as Pelor, who is another assassin who's competing in the competition. Along the way of the competition, which is how Selena plans to earn her freedom back, because after 4 years as the king's champion, she will be free to go. She meets Nehemia, who is the princess of Iwelia. So Nehemia is the princess of Iweli, and they start spending a lot of time together and become friends. So all this time that Selena is competing, she is going under the name Lillian Gordania because no one can know that she's Selena Sardorthian, Adarlan's assassin, or else she would have an unfair advantage in the competition. Selena eventually gets tired of playing pretend in pretty dresses as Lillian and decides to go exploring in the castle when she finds an old tomb, which opens up a whole another series of tunnels and everything, including word marks and the temple of Elena, the first queen of Adarlan. So the king of Adarlan has gotten rid of magic 10 years ago, which used to exist in all of Aurelia. When Selena stumbles upon word marks and word keys, she is shocked because they're a form of magic, even though magic was eradicated 10 years ago. So she looks into that because she's more curious. Over time, she forms relationships with people including Kale, Dorian, and Nehemia. She learns as much as she can about word marks, and she trains to become the king's champion. While the competition is going on, the competitors start dying in really weird and gruesome ways, which leads Selena to go exploring about them, and everything seems to be connected to the word marks. That's as much as the plot I can give away without spoiling the end and what the word marks do. The types of conflict in this book are man versus man and man versus society, where Selena is going against other people in the competition, and she's also going against society as a woman in the competition. And there are 2 main conflicts in the book. Number 1 is she is trying to become the king's assassin, and number 2 is that she is trying to figure out what's going on with the word marks and the murders. This book is told in third-person omniscient point of view and follows Selena, Kale, and Dorian as they go along their trials. The genre is fantasy and action because it has elements of magic and things that don't really happen, which is fantasy, and also a lot of action, as you would expect from a competition that is trying to determine the king's personal assassin. The theme of Throne of Glass is freedom and survival. This theme is shown throughout all 3 characters' conflicts throughout the book. Selena is fighting for freedom from her life as an assassin and from the King of Adarlan throughout the whole book, trying to become his champion so after 4 years of service she can walk free. Dorian is fighting for freedom from his bland, boring life and from his father, who's an evil ruler. And the second theme, survival, Selena has fought for survival ever since she was 8 and taken in to be an assassin, and she had to fight for her life, and she had to fight in Endovir to stay alive, and she has to fight at the castle to stay alive to become the king's champion. Libraries were full of ideas, perhaps the most dangerous and powerful of all weapons, and this is observed by Selena, and this really sticks out to me because while she is filled in a castle full of swords and daggers and bows and arrows, she's thinking that knowledge could be the deadliest weapon of all. Here is my visual aid. I couldn't print it out because I don't have a printer. I made a mood board. I know it's bad, but just a few highlights are the eye, because Selena has very distinctive turquoise eyes, as it says in the book. The crown, obviously, for Dorian, the crown prince. Selena's iconic blonde braid. Obviously, I had to include some books in there because Selena and Dorian are obsessed with books. Oh, also, chocolate cake. Selena loves chocolate cake. Review! So, I give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I really, really like this book, and I didn't think I was going to because it was recommended to me, but I really enjoyed the book, and I ended up reading the entire series. I gave it a 4 out of 5 because it entertained me. It had elements of romance and fantasy and mystery, and overall it was really good. The writing was also really good. It wasn't the best book I've ever read, obviously, and it had a few plot holes, and some of the relationships seemed a little, like, forced. But overall, I really liked the book. People who like anything with fantasy or mystery would really like this book. I would recommend this book to people who liked series like The Young Elites or Shatter Me or Legends, which I have also done book talks over all of those, which are YA novels that have a lot of fantasy and action. Honestly, anyone who likes romance, action, mystery, whatever it is, this book has something for everyone, so it could fit a wide variety of genres that people like. All in all, I really, really enjoyed this book, and I would recommend it to anyone in our class. And I would really, really, really suggest reading the entire series because while the first book, Throne of Glass, is good, it is just a fragment of what the whole series holds, which is crazy. There's so many plot twists. It's just, I really like the series. That's all. Now I have to go edit 30 minutes of footage into 6 minutes. Bye!